Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands. Who ate the apple? What happened?
All right. We are live. Welcome back to Reason and Answer.
Crackhead clown individuals.
Today, we're going to be talking about Epic City. We've talked about Epic City a couple times before. Or as Carol says, it should be called Septic City. Sharia, East Plano, Texas, Islamic City. Septic. This is probably a reference to what we discovered last time, that in addition to being Muslim centric and some questions about discrimination and whatnot, that there was very poor planning and they did not have proper allocation for waste disposal. So septic it is. No Mary today. This stream was not planned in advance. Yesterday, while researching Epic, so actually, let me finish my first thought here. So we had the stream on Epic, then I had two videos, one looking or kind of making fun of their legal defense, and one doing a shortened version, a deep dive into the financials behind it. Those videos have done pretty well. Happy with how those have gone. And Nissan Addict says, I like Mary's flustered because he is too stupid clip. Yes, very good. There is an echo. Is there an echo? If there is, that's very strange to me. Anyone else saying there is an echo? Like, am I echoing? Are you hearing me twice? Is the question. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anyone else say that. If anyone else says there's an echo, then let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to assume that was okay. Yeah, no echo. Did I hear an echo? Not picking up an echo. Okay, I don't know what that was. I didn't think there would be, but I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want everyone to be like, this guy is a moron. I'm leaving. He's just echoing the whole time. Financial scam, as Snoopy says. Indeed. I'm guessing Victoria probably had two copies of the stream open in different tabs, and they were playing at slightly different rates. So anyway, welcome everyone. Glad you're here. You've seen the previous streams on Epic. As part of my research for those streams, I got a temporary or trial subscription to the Dallas Morning News that lasts for 6 months. As a result, I get their daily updates. And yesterday, they had a new article on Epic City. The headline reading that the Department of Justice has ended their investigation into Epic. However, if you read through the article, you get a lot of updates, or a lot of small updates anyway, on the situation. I thought it'd be good to go through all that and read between the lines, right? See what's really said. The headline says Department of Justice closes investigation, but what is the real story? We're going to get into all that today. But before that, I guess I do need to address the elephant in the room.
Based?
No, not that elephant. Some of you are probably very disappointed. You were expecting a certain interview to be released yesterday. I postponed that as per request. It is tentatively scheduled for Monday right now, but we'll see when that actually happens. Has been postponed as per request, and we'll figure that out soon. All right, let's dive into this article here. U.S. Department of Justice ends the civil rights investigation of Epic City development. There you go. That's all you need to know, right? You got the headline. We're done. Thanks for joining the stream. No, there's a little bit more to it than the headline here. U.S. Department of Justice has dropped a civil rights investigation into Epic City, a planned Muslim-centric development in Dallas-Fort Worth. Assistant Attorney General Harmet Dillon wrote in a June 13th letter to development group Community Capital Partners that the probe was ending. The DOJ did not bring any lawsuits or charges forward. So the Dallas Morning News is finding out about this because CCP, which is the legal organization behind the Epic City development, has shared the letter with them. Letter was from June 13th. They took a little while to actually share it. Perhaps we'll see why. DOJ provided no further information regarding the investigation. A copy of the letter was provided to the Dallas Morning News by CCP. CCP has affirmed that it will be, quote, CCP has affirmed that all will be welcome in any future development and that you plan to revise and develop marketing materials to reinforce that message consistent with your obligations under the Fair Housing Act, the letter reads. Based on this information, the department is closing its investigation at this time. So that's what the DOJ, the Department of Justice, the federal investigation, actually said to CCP. That CCP, has acknowledged that they have to follow fair housing practices and has promised to revise their marketing materials accordingly. Now, if they have to revise their marketing materials accordingly, that actually would imply that they were in violation. That they were in violation of the Fair Housing Act, but they're giving the opportunity to correct that, which I think is perfectly fine. But it is not a clearing of wrongdoing, and it doesn't mean that there won't be further problems if they don't follow through with following the Fair Housing Act. It means that the government and CCP came to agreement that there was some issues with the way they were handling it, some issues with the way they were quote unquote marketing it, and they need to correct that. So that is the actual statement. Reading between the lines, it sounds like they actually did find a problem. Is requiring donations for the mosque still allowed under the Fair Housing Act? So that's probably more of a financial thing, because technically, the mosque donations were for ownership in in the Community Capitals Partner Group, because remember the way it was structured for the original housing units of 500 out of the total of 1,000. You got a share, you bought a 1/500th share of the CCP, and then you had the right to later buy a lot. And then some of that money from the CCP organization that you invested in would go towards building the mosque. So I think there's a speculation, but I think that probably what the Department of Justice said is you have to allow anyone to purchase lots. It can't just be owners of the company that are allowed to purchase. So that will correct that, allow anyone who wants to purchase without having to invest in the mosque. There are other updates here. So that's the extent as far as the federal investigation. I think that's probably a reasonable outcome. It was far from the most serious, at least in terms of threat level investigations into Epic City. State level investigations still ongoing, and we get some updates on those here. Community Capital Partners hopes to build more than 1,000 homes, a K through 12 faith-based school, a mosque, elderly and assisted living, apartments, clinics, retail shops, community college, and sports field on 402 acres in Collin and Hunt counties. Site is 40 miles northeast of downtown Dallas. The right to buy a lot, but not al-uza or manat. That is correct. The for-profit development group was formed by members of the East Plano Islamic Center, one of North Texas' largest mosques. So that is obviously just background for the reader who is not familiar with this story. Now we got Dan Cogdell, the attorney hired by Epic or CCP to represent them. And you know all about him and his amazing insights into these things from my video on him. We are pleased with the feedback we received from the Department of Justice, said Dan Cogdell, an attorney representing Community Capital Partners. Assistant Attorney General Dillon and her team were professional, responsible, and easy to work with. Community Capital Partners is committed to building an inclusive community for all Muslims. I mean, that follows the guidelines of the Fair Housing Act, and we're glad the DOJ found that to be true in their investigation. Again, I don't think that's what they found to be true. I think they found the opposite to be true, and then you agreed to modify the plans accordingly. I think that's what actually happened based on their actual words written to you. Good spin, though. Good spin. You're a good lawyer. The Department of Justice launched its probe last month following a request from U.S. Senator John Cornyn. Texas Republican expressed concern that those involved in the planned development could discriminate against Jewish and Christian Texans and non-religious Texans and Hindu Texans and Native American Texans. Anyway, you get the point. Cornyn also alleged that the Community Capital Partners could be violating the Fair Housing Act of 1968 after the group initially advertised it would, quote, limit sales to only persons we believe will contribute in overall makeup of the community and are legally eligible to invest and buy property in the United States, according to previous language on the developer's website for Epic City, which they abrogated, they removed, they replaced it with something equal to or better than it. Even before Cornyn's request, I might add. Cornyn's request drew rebukes from the developer and Council on Islamic American Relations, CARE. Of course it did. I mean, how dare they investigate to see whether or not they're following the law or not? They should just assume that anything a Muslim does is never, ever violates the law. I think is the gist there. And by the way, the goat apologist should be fixed. That should be functional now. There was a error in my regular expression for recalling it. That was causing it not to match, which is why it was not automatically playing. I said that for the benefit of the programmer, Jack, right? Cornyn's office did not immediately respond to questions. Oh, sorry. I didn't finish this. CARE accused Cornyn and other state officials of zoning harassment. Zoning harassment. Discriminatory enforcement and politically motivated intimidation. Chris says, if I were a rich Jew, I'd buy a key lot and build up the Jewish temple. And I think you'd be okay with that because the land on which churches or temples or whatever are built is usually zoned residential. So if it's zoned residential and you buy the lot, I think you will be able to build a temple on it. I don't know Texas zoning laws, obviously. I don't know the specifics, but I think it would at least have a good plausibility there. Cornyn's office did not immediately respond to questions before publication. We welcome we get Care weighing in here. Care's weighing in, guys. This is going to be good. They're going to tell us how all people named Thaddeus need to be fired from their job, I think. We welcome the dropping of this investigation and hope the DOJ's actions send a clear message to the governor and other officials in Texas that they should similarly drop their Islamophobic witch hunt targeting Muslims in the state. Now, hold on a second. The state investigations include things like whether they are following the utility laws, whether they're following employment laws, whether they are whether the financial structure is legal, whether the proper environmental impact studies have been done. None of those have anything to do with the Fair Housing Act. So why would the federal government say that we agree that if you make modifications to your plan, we won't pursue any further action against you? Somehow automatically means they're not guilty of anything else. Again, I think the message of Care and others is Muslims never do anything wrong. Don't pay any attention to us, whether we're violating the law or not. You can't ask us to follow the law. That's Islamophobic. He continues, elected officials should respect the Constitution and serve all state residents instead of abusing their authority to discriminate against Muslims. What is the discrimination exactly? How is opening an investigation to see whether you followed the law or not discrimination? I would say that following the due process of the law is by definition not discrimination. Discrimination would be, for example, saying that one particular group doesn't have to follow the law. Jack being the guinea pig apologist and testing out the goat here. No, why didn't you play? It says it should. Wait, what is there? Somehow an extra W got put up. Oh, it doesn't work with emojis. It doesn't work with emojis. That's a known bug. Let me play it manually. I need to fix that bug. I need to strip the emojis out of messages because it doesn't match on emojis right. All right, I loaded it up.
Go test. 1, 2, but don't say 3.
Yeah, thank you very much for being the guinea pig apologist there. Hervé says they're going to lower the age of consent in that city. Then Discord is going to move their headquarters there. LOL. Possibly. Yeah, still. I got to fix the emojis. I forgot about the emojis until that message. Now I got to fix it so emojis don't mess it up. Let me make myself a note. Fix emojis in super chats. All right. I put it on my to-do list so I won't forget again. Alexander says, by the way, whatever was of Zakir Naik, is he chilling in retirement? I think he's still technically active. He's still technically doing stuff, but he has certainly faded in relevance. Like, he's probably the most famous, right? He's still probably the most famous Muslim apologist, but he doesn't get a lot of attention for new stuff these days. So, Jack testing whether or not the goat actually works.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
No failure there. No failure there. Told you it was the emoji. Thank you very much for that. And I'll get the one from Nissan Attic here in a minute. Continuing with the article, Community Capital Partners has repeatedly said it will adhere to the Fair Housing Act as well as other applicable state and federal guidelines. The community will be open to members of all religions. Well, yeah, they've said that, but that's why there was an investigation to see whether it was actually true. The Department of Justice probe was one of several investigations tied to the project and the mosque. At least 5 investigations have been launched at the direction of Governor Greg Abbott. And they're looking at different things. Each one is looking at something different. So, even if we grant their statement, which I don't, but even if we grant their statement that the Department of Justice found they were not in violation of the Fair Housing Act, how does that have anything to do with whether violating other laws? Abbott previously said a dozen state agencies are investigating potential illegal activities conducted by Epic and its affiliated entities. Again, how is that Islamophobia to look at a housing development and ask if they're following the applicable laws? It's obviously not. Abbott signed a bill into law last week that targets the business structure, future sale processes, investor rights tied to the planned project. The bill's primary author, Representative Kenny Noble, a Republican from Lucas County, said legislation aims to protect investors who purchase ownership shares in the development. And I think that this is 100% completely reasonable. When Mary and I looked at this, my primary concern about the community wasn't so much potential discrimination, although that was certainly possibly there, but the clear scam investment structure that it was set up as. In other words, whether intentional or not, it was set up in such a way that the Muslim investors could easily be scammed. Just lose all their money and never get anything in return. Why did they sign this bill? To close the loophole that allowed them to do this scammy investment structure. Seems perfectly reasonable to me. Obviously, it can't be applied justly, retroactively. It can't say that the business can't exist, but I think it's perfectly legitimate to say this kind of investment structure is not fair to consumers. Therefore, we will correct the law to make sure it doesn't happen again. And by the way, that would be for all types of businesses, whether Muslim owned or not. It doesn't say, the bill doesn't have anything that says, if you are a Muslim, this law applies to you. That would be discriminatory. That would be illegal. Saying that a certain type of business, a certain type of scammy investment structure is not allowed is perfectly not discriminatory. If Ken Paxton is the Dajjal, then his eye be trippin'. Ken Paxton is the state attorney general in Texas. Community Capital Partners told the News Wednesday that the bill changes no aspect of the development. Well, yeah, it can't change. It can't retroactively change your investment structure, but it would prevent this scammy investment structure from happening again. Epic City project is not under development. Plans for the project haven't been submitted. A traffic impact analysis, flood study, and environmental study of the site have been completed. So that is an update here. We knew it wasn't under development. We knew that plans hadn't been submitted, even though they told their investors they would be submitted last June 2024. They still haven't been submitted. But we do now know that there's a traffic impact analysis and a flood study and an environmental study. They had not done any of those things a couple months ago when this all came to public light. One of the investigations was whether they're following the environmental law. The flood study would be primarily about the housing safety. Environmental impact would be about the environment. We didn't even talk about them not doing the traffic analysis, but they're also required because they want to build this fairly large community in a completely rural area with these tiny little rural roads being the only access points. As we did talk about, the local residents were concerned primarily with how the roads would be able to cope with all this traffic, as opposed to, oh, they're Muslims. So seems that all this attention and all this investigation are being positive. They're forcing Epic City to follow the law and do things that are required for all housing developments under the law, like doing a traffic impact analysis, doing an environmental study, and in this case, doing a flood study, since it's on the edge of two little rivers or streams, however you want to describe them. And thus you have to study whether in the event of a massive flood, the houses would be safe. No, Thaddeus. If it negatively impacts Muslims, then it is discriminatory. See the definition of slander. Islamic slander, of course. Yeah, good point. Except I think it actually positively benefits Muslims. They might not feel that way, but I think it actually positively benefits them to force Epic to follow the law, because it means that the Muslims who may eventually come to live there aren't being taken advantage of. They're not being sold property that's unsafe, that there'll be massive traffic jams, that they will have their money taken from them. So I think it actually does benefit them, even though, care and whatnot, we'll call it discriminatory. Crazy me, but I would say that laws that are there for consumer protection, forcing you to follow them, is for the benefit of the consumers, which in this case is primarily Muslims who want to build a house in this area. Just saying. Super chat from Nissan Attic.
Now witness the power of this fully coded and operational apologist parody. Recite embarrassing hadith at will. Commander.
According to Sahih Bukhari, number 4166, the third line reads, yay! He memorized stuff! He's so smart! Yay! I have no idea what he's saying, but I was told to clap. I don't understand English, but I'm going to clap whenever I'm supposed to clap, because that's why I'm here. Common thing at Zakir Naik speeches, the audience is told when they're supposed to clap, many of which do not even speak English. They just came to be in the presence of the great Zakir Naik. Alexander says, I would be thrilled to move to Texas, though. Just thinking about all that Texas barbecue is exciting. And then I got a question from Hervé Schmervy. What is your favorite English translation of the Quran? So that's a good question. I usually recommend the Arbery translation of the Quran. Unfortunately, the language is a little archaic, so at times it's hard to read and understand, but it is probably the only reasonably academic translation that is not written by a Muslim. Of course, you do have, translations like the Generous Quran by Osama Dakduk. I would say that he's more inclined to be biased in the opposite direction. So I usually recommend Arbery as like a first choice. The Sahih International, honestly, is pretty good. The language is pretty good, and it is certainly less likely to hide things than other translations, but I would say definitely at least compare it a couple and see. If they all agree, they all say the exact same words, is probably a fair translation. If they all are like saying different things, well, then most or even all of them are probably trying to hide something. Now, that what they're trying to hide might just be that the Quranic grammar literally makes no sense, that it's incoherent, like it's missing verbs or something. So they have to guess what the verb is supposed to be. Or it could be because it's offensive and they don't want to translate it into English accurately. So that's my advice on translations there. All right. So continuing on here. Community Capital Partners told the Department of Justice that the firm may begin the residential development permitting process in July or August of 2025, after previously saying it would begin and be finished in June of 2024. And that is the conclusion of the article there. So several little updates there. I thought it would be worthwhile to go through that and kind of see what's up at the situation. I didn't plan this to be a super long live stream, and it looks like it probably won't be a super long stream. But if you have any questions or whatever, put those into the chat now, and I'll be happy to answer it. When newer ones change deceiver to planner, it's a red flag. So I don't think you'll find any translation that will say that Allah is the greatest deceiver, but you will find many translations that use appropriate words like plotter, schemer, something along those lines, terms that have a definite negative connotation, which in context, it is talking about the plans of Allah. So the deceptive plans, schemes, plots, yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. But if you just try to say planner, that is not very genuine. So that would be my thought on those particular verses. Jeremy says they were planning on a half-brain park where the men could have walked their wives on a leash. Not very nice, fellas. There were parks in the planned development, including Septic Park, where they just put in the corner. All the others are labeled like park or recreational area or something along those lines. They put a green spot, which is the same color of all the parks, and they just labeled it with an acronym, which was WWTP, wastewater treatment plant, which they just put in the corner and they didn't budget for. Right next to houses, by the way. Some poor people were buying plots of land, or at least theoretically buying plots of land, since the lots would be assigned later, but right next to the poo plant. Super chat from Kevin.
Who ate the apple? You ate the apple. The whole apple. Yes, the whole apple. You ate it. But a small seed, you left it. You put it back into the earth. What happened? Allah, through His power, caused that to grow and to give you how many apples? Thousands.
Thousands of apples. Thousands of apples, everyone. And very appropriate that he did a default super chat there. So he got the clip, since his question is, how do you get the clips for your live streams? Do you use screen recording or some special software? So for all the things, whether they're, like Goofy Mank there talking about your thousands of apples, or it's from hitting, or, it's a clip that I call up at will.
I swear by the creator who created me, wallahi wa billahi wa tallahi. I looked at the series of topics and I chose one at random completely.
I chose that clip at random completely. Was calling up one of those clips. So to call up the clips, there's a stream deck. It's programmed as a macro on my streaming software, which is vMix. But as far as getting the clip itself, I download the whole video, put it in editing software, and get the clip out. I use a program called Vividly. Vividl is open source free software to download the clips, and then I put it in one of my video editor softwares. I use a couple different video editing software. My editing process for regular scripted videos is very complex, I'll just say. But you could put it in any editing software. That's kind of irrelevant. Or you could get a software that will allow you to clip it without actually, just from the timestamps, without actually even putting it in, which I do have a program that does that as well. Lossless Cut, open source free software on that as well, which I use occasionally, but usually I just put it in the editing software. Yasir has the bluest shirt ever. He's going to OD on blue dye.
I don't even understand. Do you listen to yourself speaking?
Alexander says, do you think any action charges can be brought against the promoters of this thing if the government forces them to cancel it, like for scamming investors? So I think that what will ultimately happen is that they will have to at some point throw in the towel, admit the project can't move forward, and then they will have to sell the land and distribute the proceeds back to investors. They'll probably lose some money, but I think that they will have to return the majority of it, because the original setup for the Epic City was actually pretty careful. It has a lot of legal proceedings. Then the Epic Ranches that they tried to launch second, that was totally just a scam with no effort whatsoever, but they deleted that. They've gotten rid of that. So I think that there is some protection that the investors probably will get most of their money back. I haven't seen anything that I would say is definitely illegal. There's definitely stuff that's very sketchy, very, you could say, immoral, but of course the law doesn't care about it being sketchy or it being immoral. They only care about the letter of the law. That's all the law can care about. And they may have fallen the letter of the law. So they may not have. It's a possibility there could be charges for, especially for the financial aspect, I think is where they could be gotten. Remember, there was already one legal consequence, though. The existing Epic Mosque was operating funerals without a license, and they were shut down on that. They were told they were not allowed to operate any more funerals until they got a license to do so. So there has already been one legal consequences. Super chat from Jack Ray.
Zakir Naik gets the clap.
I think I might actually I think I have a sarcastic clap on here. No, I don't think I did. I don't think I did have a sarcastic. I should put Ali Dawa's, or sorry, not Ali Dawa, Salman from Behind Veil's sarcastic clap on my list, but I don't think I have one yet. And yes, I do know the double meaning there. This blue shirt game is always on point. Yeah, that's true, right? That is definitely true. Let me see. Let me get Yasir Qadhi responding to that. And so many to choose from.
It's not in my nature to stoop to the level of every single barking dog. I just don't do that.
So Kevin says you should consider doing a live stream about the recent Democratic Party mayoral election results. Islamification of New York has begun. I'm not actually sure about that. I know that a lot of people are saying that there's a lot of fear mongering. As near as I can tell, like, there might be some very legitimate concerns about his extremely left-wing politics. But as far as Islam goes, he does seem, as near as I can tell, he's very secular. He's probably not really a believer in Islam. So I don't really know if there's any Islamification aspects of the situation. I'll do some more research into it and think about it. I would probably do it when he was actually elected as mayor, if I were doing something. So, in the fall, when the general election happens. People are just assuming that he'll win the general election since he won the Democratic Party primary, and obviously he's a huge favorite, but I would wait and see whether that actually comes to fruition, because it's not impossible he could lose the general election. Republicans have been elected mayor in New York City before. There's at least one, maybe two independent candidates on the ballot in the general election. So it's not a certainty that he's elected mayor. So I would wait and see, probably. But I'll do more research, try to figure out his actual beliefs as far as Islam go, and consider doing a stream at some point. The Muslims will be the first ones that want to live in Epic City. They want Christian neighbors. Ah ha ha. First New York, now Texas. Stand aside now. Yeah, I think caution is warranted. I don't think it's all that probable that just because someone is nominally Muslim, they'll try to instigate Sharia law or something, or a two-tiered policing system. I say wait and see what happens. That's my opinion. Cuomo was talking a lot about how he accepted the primary results. So assuming he does the exact opposite, he's going to run independent as well. So there is definitely an independent candidate. Cuomo is possibly also going to run in the general. It was widely thought that he would before the primary, but he did so poorly in the primary that people are not so sure now. He definitely will have ballot access because of the weird way the New York City works. There's all these tiny little parties, and at least one of them has said that they would nominate Cuomo as their party candidate, which means he'll have ballot access if he wants it. I would say there's definitely a question whether he's actually going to try to run now that he did so poorly in the primary compared to what was expected. So we'll see. I think it's just a wait and see. Wait and see what happens. He's a slippery character, so he's a politician, is what you're telling me. He tailors his message to his audience. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't play down the Islamic angle. Well, but what that message says is he doesn't have any core beliefs. Doesn't really have Islamic beliefs. But if there's a significant Islamic population, he'd be willing to cater to those beliefs, which is a different thing than saying that he'll institute his personal beliefs. Yeah, so that's my thought as well, Timothy. Timothy says I'm more concerned he's a communist than a religious belief. I think that the fact that he is nominally Muslim, I think, is far less something people should be worried about than his actual political beliefs, where he basically wants to create state-run businesses like grocery stores. Well, I guess not technically state-run, city-run businesses like grocery stores. And it's this is America. So that's my opinion. My opinion is that his political positions, irregardless of his religion, are more concerning than his potential religious beliefs. So that's my thoughts, but I wouldn't want to actually speak on it without doing extensive research and actually trying to determine the reality of it. And right now I'm just like anyone else. I've seen a couple of news articles, and that's the extent of my knowledge on the situation. So, any case, In any case, I don't live in New York City, right? I'm not following things closely, but it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Off topic, AOC is kind of hot. I said it, fight me. No comment. No comment on that. Super chat from Holy Joe 3.
O son of Adam, spend. I will spend on you. Give, then I will give you. It's difficult because you know what? These are my last few. As it is, the price is going up, the rand is going down, this is happening. Excuses. Those are excuses. You give and watch what Allah does.
If Epic City gets built, at least we know where the next crusade will happen at. Yeah. I of course, I don't advocate for taking up swords and attacking the city by force and retaking Jerusalem, so to speak, as in the goal of the crusade and the success of the crusade ultimately. But I would suggest, hey, if the Muslims want to announce this is a Muslim neighborhood, that means you know exactly where to go to do evangelism. You know exactly where to go to carry signs about how Muhammad is a pedophile or whatever else you want to do. I'm just saying, it's an opportunity for a intellectual crusade. I don't mind, I honestly, I don't really mind if Muslims gather together in one particular area. It makes it easier to do evangelism. Now, I certainly think they need to follow all laws. It can't be exempt from the laws. There can't be a two-tiered policing system and whatnot. But I don't really have a problem if they want to gather together and live close to people who think like them. I think that most people would like to do that. They'd like to live near people who they agree with. And I don't really have a problem with that in and of itself. Call to action, guys. Call to action. Here in Columbus, where I live, there are parts of town where there are substantial chunks of Muslims. There's no like Muslim-only neighborhood, but there are parts of town where the Muslim immigrants, mostly from Somalia in the case of Columbus, have tended to gather, which means it's really easy to go to that area, go to a shopping center or a park or other place, or even go door to door and do evangelism. So that's my thoughts on it. Sign up for the Alamo Crusade, boys. Free Texas barbecue if you retake Houston. Yeah, just no children's crusades, please. No children's crusades. Some comment on some talk about the government-owned grocery stores where no one makes a profit. Well, grocery stores make so incredibly little profit to begin with. It's one of the lowest margin businesses there are. So, what your $6 pound of beef is now going to be $5.98 instead of $6? I mean, there's no difference to be made, really. And of course, I'm sure the government version would be much less efficiently run, and the prices would probably end up being much more expensive in the long run anyway. Yeah. Set up a place selling delicious Texas barbecue and offering free Bibles. I almost said babies. Don't offer free babies at your Texas barbecue stand, but do offer free Bibles. Exactly. Let's get Yasir Qadhi one more time. These are mostly all like him complaining, of course, but we'll just do this.
What the hell? I mean,
For the babies, for the babies. When I almost said offering free babies. All right, I think we'll probably wrap it up here. I got another stream later today. You'll be redirected to that when this stream ends. I'll be streaming with David S., or David 2.0, as I like to call him. Free babies. Yeah. David 2.0, he wrote a book. We'll be discussing his book. One of the chapters of his book is on the doctrine of the Holy Spirit. So I thought that that would be a good one to focus, since this is a issue that comes up regularly in Muslim-Christian dialogue. And so that's probably what the focus of the chat will be. That'll be later today. I'll be streaming with Mary tomorrow. Let me double check. I don't think she's told me the topic. Nope. I just double checked. She hasn't given me the topic, so I'm not sure what topic we're streaming on, but I'm definitely streaming with Mary tomorrow afternoon. Inshallah, I will also do a Bible study tomorrow evening, and potentially I'll be streaming, having a discussion with Yahya, the let's say intellectually gifted Muslim who sometimes goes to Speaker's Corner and whatnot. He wants to discuss salvation in Christianity and Islam, and I don't expect much from his side of the conversation, but it is a good topic, and I definitely welcome that opportunity. I'm not 100% sure that'll be on Saturday, but it will definitely be at some point. So lots coming up there. I already mentioned at the start of this that I've postponed releasing the Aisha interview tentatively to a Monday, pending her decision on that. She asked kindly that I postpone it for a little bit because basically she wasn't ready for it to be released, and that's fine, no problem. Wish she would have told me before I had announced it so that I could just keep it a secret, but whatever, I announced it. So I postponed it for now, but I think that will definitely be released at some point. I'm just not sure exactly when. We want to do a stream on putting Lily J to the test, having her questions fed into ChatGPT Live and see if we get any of the same answers at all. I suspect we never will, but we want to do that as well at some point. So lots and lots of stuff coming up. Got 2 scripted videos in the works, and who knows what'll pop up. Who knows what will pop up, and we'll need to have another little stream like this to cover the breaking news.
And you see breaking news. Yes? Yes? No? Okay.
All right. So thank you all for joining in today. I hope to see you again in 3.5 hours. Again, the stream will redirect to that. Until we meet again, whether that's later tonight, tomorrow, or some other time, we'll close out with prayer from Pastor Jake.
Pray this ceaselessly. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.